Hey, my creative friends. Shannon here from Shannon Studio. And we are here to talk about creativity and a creative lifestyle. And today is Sunday for me, so I usually tie in our spiritual nature, our spirituality with creativity. And today I was thinking, well, I wasn't really thinking. What happened was this morning, on our way to church, it's our daytime, and in the U.S., it's 8 hours later. Yeah. So, or about, depending on where you are. So it's the middle of the night, and one of my kids called me, and they were distraught because of a dream they had, and they just kind of wanted to connect and tell me the dream, and just be heard. So it made me think today. And I did. I just listened to them, and I just, we just talked about the feelings, and that was it. And then they said they'd go back to sleep. I try to protect their identity. But it's not the first time one of my kids has called me about a dream, and I have dreams, and a lot of people have dreams, but that's kind of the side thing. It got me thinking about that process of people's feelings. And so when I was reading through the scriptures today, I came across the Beatitudes of Jesus Christ. And it's in Matthew. One of the things that jumped out at me when I was reading after this experience was Matthew 5:4, "Blessed are they that mourn, for they shall be comforted." And I thought about that. I thought, we all know mourning. We know what it's like to mourn. But the second part of that is they shall be comforted. Someone, and yes, Christ does comfort us. Absolutely, no question. I know it in my own life. I've felt it. I've seen it in other people's lives. That is a given. But I think we can also add to another's aid by being that person who helps to comfort. And that's all that my child was looking for at that point, was to have some comfort. And so, but I was also reading and had read about, in the book Emotional First Aid by Winch, about emotional validation is what they call it. Like tonight, or like this morning, it was just listening with an open mind and an open ear. Hey, Trisha. And so it had some actual steps to emotional validation. So I thought that was, and I kind of looked at what I did with my child after they called me about the dream to see how I did. Because I acted without knowing exactly this process. I kind of found it after the fact. But I want to say, a quote from his book is which is Emotional First Aid. Emotional validation is something we all seek and crave far more than we realize. And we do that because there's emotional relief, and we can let some things go, and we can put it into a greater context and see how it fits in the whole. And so to be able to get and give that emotional validation makes a big difference. So I'm just going to share the 5. Well, first, before I share the 5 steps, this is in that same book. This has really struck me, and I think I did a video about loneliness a little while ago. But one of the things is that loneliness is contagious, meaning they've found that over the studies they've done, even over social media networks. So you don't even have to be next to the person or be with the person. You can have that happen, that loneliness and those things that proceed from loneliness spill into your life because of your association, even through social media. So, one of the things that some of the causes of what happens when you have loneliness is listed in this book, To Emotional First Aid. It says, first, loneliness causes us to become, 1, overly critical about ourselves. We first attack ourselves. Second, overly critical about those around us. So second, we go after those around us. And it makes us judge our existing relationships too negatively. So when we're in this loneliness thing, we judge the relationships we have negatively. So if we're being critical about ourselves, about other people, and we're putting that into our relationships and viewing them too negatively, you can see where that's going. So all of which, and I continue with the quote, all of which impact our intentions with others. So that leads us to how we behave. Second, one of the more insidious effects of loneliness is that it leads us to behave in self-defeating ways. So the idea that people are lonely and they are, some of the outcomes of that loneliness are the critical thinking about ourselves, negativity, and these things, and how we act from those feelings, because we all act from our feelings. And I said, okay, we don't all act from our feelings per se. The feelings don't, I just want to backtrack a little minute, because we can have feelings, but then we realize, okay, that feeling shouldn't be acted upon. I should say we all have feelings. We all have feelings, and then some of us act on those feelings in a negative way. So the idea that people connect, that emotional validation is, like he said, something we all seek and crave more than we realize. We need to connect. We need to particularly mourn with those that mourn. We have to understand and convey that to others, for they shall be comforted. We can be the ones that comfort. And I really believe that in turn, when we comfort somebody else, we get blessings, we get benefits from comforting somebody else. So now the 5 steps that he lists, that guy Winch lists for comforting people, or I should say for emotionally validating people. And these are not going to be a surprise to you, I don't think, but just maybe a validation of you and what you're doing, and maybe what I was doing with my child when they called up about their dream. So the first is to let the person tell the whole story. So let them tell from their point of view the whole thing. You know, you don't stop and say, don't tell me, I get it. It's let them tell it. Let them have an ear.